Hello and welcome to Little House on the Prairie and also just Vintage Crochet, and welcome to the 1870s. Here it is. I want to make this right here. And it has a really interesting little decorative piece right here. I think this is a slider. I think this just slides up to hold the ties, to hold them nice and neat. But here you get another look at how this is worn. Here we get another view of it. This was the image right here that I used. I already basically made it. I messed up on the ties. I think I made the ties too long. Here's the one I've been working on. Would you look at this? But I made the tie way too long. It's 130 chains long. I think I probably could have got away with 100, maybe 110 chains. This is sized for an adult now. This isn't sized for a child. I think if you want to make this for a child, just use a DK or sport weight yarn and like a 3.75 millimeter hook. With this one here, we're going to be using a worsted weight or Aran weight yarn and a 6 millimeter hook. But what do you guys think so far? Let me show it to you on me. Please don't laugh again. And it also only has one strap done, but I just couldn't wait to finish the other strap. I just had to get on here and show you. All right. I'm going to put it on and show you how it looks on me. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Bear in mind, this one here is adult size. I'm putting this on with no mirror. This one here is adult size. It goes over the ears and all that just fine. I made this way too long. I really probably could have got away with just 100 or 110, but I'll loop this up and make it look like a bow, because it's supposed to be a huge bow on the bottom. You know, after doing a big bow, it might be long enough. And then we would have that little decorative slide piece right here. Okay, and I need to look in the mirror to make sure that it is laying right. And oh my goodness. So, do you think I did it? Did it do it? Okay, I'm just gonna have to hold it like that. Let me get my picture. Let's look at this picture here. What do we think? Okay, a couple more pictures. Here we go. This is the one I mostly worked off of. I didn't work off of the paper picture because you really can't see it very well on paper. It's digitalized on my computer where I can zoom in and it's very sharp and clear. So, and I don't have a very good printer. What do we think? Do we even like it? Like, is this something that we're even interested in? Should we do a Little House on the Prairie series? Because I would absolutely love to do Mary's bonnet style scuddy, and I would love to do Carolyn's shawl. There was a couple other characters on there that had shawls that were so beautiful and lacy, but simple, actually quite simple, which would make sense. I mean, 1870s, you're living out in the middle of, pretty much middle of nowhere, Minnesota. You kind of need more utilitarian clothes than fancy clothes. But what do we think? Okay, let me know what you think. Should this become a series? Should we do a bunch of Little House on the Prairie crochet recreations, not based on a pattern, based sight unseen? Now, I did not make a pattern for this. I don't know that I ever will. I just really, I'm kind of like Bag O' in that area. I really don't like pattern writing. I really, really don't. I just like crocheting and creating. So that is just so precious. Oh my goodness. So I don't know. But it's mostly just going to be a video pattern. It's just, I did write down all of my notes. I'm really not good at pattern writing. I can write patterns that I can understand, if that makes sense. But I'm not so good at writing out things. I'm not so good. Listen to me. I'm not that good at writing out things that are easy for other people to understand. Bear in mind, I had a pattern shop before I did all of this, and it didn't do well. I don't know if it's because my patterns were not good, but it didn't do well. That pattern shop was open for a year, and I think I sold 50 patterns total. So I just tend to do Cliff's Note versions for myself. Okay, so the colors that I'm using is going to be soft mink. This is Red Heart Super Saver brushed. And I am using another Red Heart Super Saver. This one's not brushed, and it's called Jade. It is not an exact color match. None of these are. I'm using burgundy, but for some reason looks very, very brown, like a very rich brown. So that is the colors that I am using. And we are using a 6mm hook for the adult size. My recommendation is that you use a DK or sport weight with a 3.75 or at most a 4mm hook for child size to teenagers, to young teenager size. Okay, we're going to start with the soft mink. The one I'll be making in this tutorial will be the adult size. Again, the only difference being the size yarn and hook you use. Now, if you want to make this for a very, very, very small child, just play around with your starting chain. Everything after that will fall into place, but just play around with your starting chain. It's a very fast pattern, so if you do need to make this for like a toddler or someone that's 5 or 6 years old, start off with your starting chain and then make a few rounds and see how it's fitting on their head. What you're looking for is for the white portion here, or the light gray portion, to be at the bottom of the earlobe. And if you've achieved that with at least the light gray portion, then you can carry on with the rest of your pattern. So instead of chaining 18 like we're going to for the adult and teenage size, maybe you might want to chain 15 or 13. Okay, so with our chain of 18, it's actually going to be 16 plus 2 extra for our special stitch. The special stitch that we're using in this, I'm calling a half double crochet cluster because that's what it reminds me of, but it's slightly different. It's ever so slightly different. I wanted to create a lot of texture because the top of her hat looks very, very textured. I really didn't achieve the stitch that they used or the texture that they used, so it's just what I was able to come up with. Okay, so I'll be right back. I'm going to chain 18. Okay, so I would highly recommend working in the back bumps. In the third chain from the hook, yarn over, go into your stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 only. Yarn over, go back into that same stitch, pull up a loop. Now you have 4 loops on the hook, pull through all 4. This isn't a stitch that I picked up from anywhere. It probably is a stitch that already exists. That might be why it was in my mind, but it was just the stitch that was in my mind. It probably does exist. So now we're going to repeat that. Yarn over, go into the next chain over, pull through just 2. Yarn over again into the same chain. Now pull through all 4 loops. Yarn over, next chain over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, back into the same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 over and over again. And it creates this interesting little texture. Again, I'm not claiming this stitch to be my own. It probably does exist. It probably has a name. It might be in my mind because I likely have used it before, but I just can't recall where or when. Okay, so we're going to work this all the way until the second to last stitch. So don't work the last stitch. We'll work that one together. And you will need a couple of stitch markers. Okay, I worked my way to the end. I was just thinking about it. I think we used this stitch in that 1960s turban. That's why I think this stitch is in my mind. Okay, so the last stitch here, we're going to work our regular cluster stitch. Okay, so we have our last stitch worked. I'm going to mark that last stitch. This is not going to be an increase stitch. What I'm going to do is wall in my increase stitches so that the only stitches that don't have a stitch marker in them, everything, all the stitches between the stitch markers are where our increases are going to go for every round. So I'm going to work 3 more cluster stitches here on the end, and these are the stitches that are going to get an increase the next round. That's 2 and then 3. Okay, now the next stitch down just on the other side of your knot right here, work a regular cluster stitch and then mark that stitch. And that's going to be our sort of, I didn't do that right. I was too busy talking. Okay, try that again. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to mark this stitch here. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I have a really hard time trying to figure out where my increase stitches are supposed to go when we work in the oval like this. And it's just sort of a cheat sheet for me. Now I know every stitch between the stitch markers will be my increase stitches. Just makes it to where you work, I don't know, smarter, not harder kind of a situation, I suppose. And anything I can do to create simplicity in my crochet is great, because this is supposed to be fun, not stressful. Okay, so I'm going to work my way down to the second to last stitch here on this side. And that's how it should be looking. Okay, I've got one more stitch left to work here on this end. Now, just like I did before, I'm going to mark that stitch. Now here on this chain 2 that we started off with, I'm going to work my 3 point stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And slip stitch into my starting stitch, which is right there. Okay, after we slip stitch, chain 1, let's go ahead and work a cluster stitch really quick in this stitch. Now we can mark that. Okay, and now they are side by side. So now only these 3 unmarked stitches will be our increase stitches. So let's continue to work our clusters down to the stitch marker. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to work one more cluster stitch where this stitch marker is. Move that stitch marker up. And let's increase. Now we're going to work 2 clusters into each of the next 3 stitches. That's 1 and 2 into that same stitch. Next stitch over, 1, 2, and then the third stitch over, 1 and 2. Now where that stitch marker is, we just work 1 cluster. And then we move that stitch marker up so that we know next time around, this is where our increasing stops. And there we go. Okay, that is how it should be looking now. Now you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to repeat that down here at the bottom. You'll work 1 cluster in the stitch with the stitch marker, then 2 in each of the next 3 stitches, join with a slip stitch and make another cluster after you join and put your stitch marker back. I'll be right back. I thought I would work this other end with you for those who prefer to work alongside with me. So now we're going to work one more single cluster stitch right where that stitch marker was. Put that stitch marker right back. Now we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 1. Nope. 2. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Okay. Stitch marker 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we come over here and we join with a slip stitch, chain 1, and we immediately work another cluster and put our stitch marker right back. Okay, that was round 2. Oops. There we go. That was round 2. You can see 1, 2. We're going to do this exact same step one more time. So when you get to the stitch marker, work your last cluster stitch, and then you're going to go from 6 to 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, do that on both ends, and then we will get started with the color portion. Here is what you are working on right now. Round 1, round 2, round 3. And there's how it should be looking on both ends. Okay? So I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and work round 3 all the way to the very beginning. Okay, now for round 4, we're going to change color. So we have 1, 2, 3 rounds done. So when you're done making your last cluster, go ahead and start your slip stitch. Hang back on your old color, which we're going to go ahead and just cut because we won't be reusing it, but we won't cut these colors because we are going to go ahead and pull them up and reuse them. And let's see if I have an example of that. Oh, well, I do have an example of it here on the headband part. We can just pull up on it and not have so many ends to weave in, as there's going to be plenty already. Okay, so let's change colors now. And I really had to play around with this stitch to figure out just what they were doing here. And I don't even know if I nailed it. I probably didn't. I have a feeling that the crocheters who crocheted all the stuff for this show were working off of some vintage patterns. Okay, so here, hopefully you can see, there's a bit of thickness on these stitches down here. And I was trying to recreate that as best I could. As you can see, there's some thickness. So what I came up with is we chain 4, that's 2, 3, 4. That's going to be a double crochet plus chain 1. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch. So skip this stitch, and in the next stitch over, work a double crochet plus chain 4, come down here in between this sort of V area, and we're going to work a single crochet around the post of the double crochet we just made, creating sort of a picot. Mostly it's going to be like a filler. Then we chain 1, skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch over, we repeat. Double crochet plus chain 4, come down into this space like that, around the post, and work a single crochet. Then chain 1, skip 1, and repeat. Double crochet, chain 4, and it might be easier for you to see if I had a white background. We come back into this space and we work around the post of the double crochet we just made. Then chain 1, skip 1, work a double crochet, chain 4, come back into the space and go around the post, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, repeat. Okay, so I will be right back. I'm going to work this all around, and we can totally remove our stitch markers now. We don't need them at all anymore. I'm going to keep my starting stitch marker. No, I'm not. We'll get rid of it too. Don't actually need it. And work this all around, and when you get back around to the beginning, I'm going to show you how we're going to do that stitch. Okay, let's finish this round up and then join with the green. So I just worked my last stitch. I haven't chained one yet, so let's chain one. And then come over here, and in the third chain of our starting chain 4, 1, 2, 3, join. Go ahead and chain 4 and work around that post of that chain 4. Now, let's not complete this last single crochet with the brown or the burgundy. Let's complete it with the green. Just like that. Tighten everything down. Okay. And let's start with a chain 1 and a single crochet into that same stitch. There we go. That locks it all in, except for that burgundy or brown is going to be kind of loose until you tie it, which is what I'm going to do just to keep it from stretching out. I'll just tie that real quick. I won't keep it this way. This is just temporary until I get around to weaving in my end. So I won't tie it too tight, but tight enough not to get loose on me. Here we go. Okay, let's start with a chain 2. Well, I'm a mess. There we go. 1, 2. And into this chain 1 space, we're going to work a V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and jump over this little knot right here, which we will work in eventually, and work another V-stitch. So this is going to be a round of V-stitches separated by a chain 1. So the V-stitch itself already has a chain 1. So what I mean is each V-stitch will be separated by a chain 1. So that chain 1 should go over the top of your little sort of chain loop right there. So chain 1, jump over this little knot here, and in the chain 1 space, work a V-stitch. Just double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, followed by a chain 1, and into the next space over, repeat. Okay. And of course, at the end of this video, I will go ahead and post the more digital version of this image so that you really get an idea of what we're doing here. But here is what we are trying to create. I can only assume those are V-stitches. Okay, I will be right back. I'm going to work this all around. Come back whenever you're ready to join, and we will work that part together. Okay, coming up to the end here, I've already chained 1. Let's go ahead and work our last V-stitch in this space right here. Here's our starting stitch. Chain 1, join into the first of the chain 2 that we created. My bad. We're going to join with the new color. So if you didn't cut your color, you can just pull up on it and draw it through. There we go. And don't detach this one either, because we're going to be able to pull up on it and use it again. So let's chain 1 and work a single crochet. Chain 1. We're going to work some more V-stitches. This time, though, it will be slightly different. So we're going to jump into the chain 1 space of this first V-stitch. And we're going to work another V-stitch. Everything will be separated by chain 1. So chain 1. So now, with this space here, we're actually going to come down into the chain 4 loop of the previous round, of the brown round, and work a double crochet. Chain 1. Now work your V-stitch in the V-stitch. Chain 1. Work a double crochet through that loop. Chain 1. V-stitch in the V-stitch. Chain 1. Come down into that loop. work a double crochet, chain 1 and a V-stitch. Okay, this is going to be the same all around. Come on back when you're ready to join and we will work that together, but that's how that is looking. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, coming up to the end here. Let's go ahead and join, but one more time we're going to finish our join with the green, and then we can cut the brown and weave in all them ends. So let's go ahead and join to the top of this single crochet that we made here, and I did it again. There we go. Finish with the green. There we go. Let's chain, well actually chain 1 and make a single crochet into the same space. Now let's chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the top of every V-stitch, chain 1 space, work a single crochet, 2, 3, 4, chain 4, and into the top of every double crochet, work a single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, V-stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this brown. After this, we'll get started on the headband portion that goes over the ears. 1, 2, 3, 4, top of the single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the V-stitch. Okay, so it should look like that all around. So go ahead and work that all around, join into the single crochet with a slip stitch, cut and weave in all of your ends, and then come on back for this portion, the part that goes over our ears. Okay, so let's work the headband portion that the ties are attached to. So you're going to start with a chain of 30. Actually, start with 31 so that we have the extra one for our turning chain. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so just like we did before in the second chain from the hook, let's start working single crochets into every stitch to the end. And just to make it easy for me to spot which is my first stitch, I'll go ahead and mark that first stitch. Okay, when you get down to the end, come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to do this one just a little bit different than the rufflier portion of this because we want this to be a little narrower and a little pointier, a lot pointier actually. So come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so just like before, we're going to work an increase on the end, but we're going to do this one a little bit differently. So let's go ahead and work 3 single crochet. We already worked the very, very last stitch, so I'll work that with you. Here we go. 1 stitch left to work right on the knot. Okay, 1 single crochet there. Now we're going to go ahead and work 3 more single crochet into that last stitch. 1, 2, mark that second stitch, and then 3. Now what we're going to do different this time is that only that stitch with the stitch marker in it is ever going to get the increase. So we don't want to make this wide, so therefore we're not going to increase a bunch of stitches along the ends, just the one, so that we can create a point. And then as we go, we're going to work things again a little bit different, but very little. Okay, now we work a single crochet into every stitch, back down. And when you get to the end here, this is your first stitch where the stitch marker is. Work your last stitch right here and then work 3 more. Now, when you work those 3 additional, mark that second of the 3 additional stitches. I'll be back whenever I get to the end to show you that for those who choose to work along with me. Okay, just made my way down to the end. Here is our starting single crochet right here. So I'm going to work 1 stitch here and that completes the row, but now I have to work the end. So I'm going to work 3 more single crochet into that same stitch. 1, 2, and I'll mark that second one as being my center point. And then 3. Okay. Now we will join, chain 1, make a single crochet. And we really don't need to put, you can see there, that's going to just create a point. We really don't need to put the stitch marker back in the starting stitch. You can see it pretty easy, unless you need to. So now we're going to work a total of 3 rows in the light gray. So now we're at rounds, forgive me. So now we're on round 2 of the light gray. When you get up to this point, work every stitch until you get to the stitch marker is in, and then just put 3 single crochet in right there. And the same with this other end down here. Okay, so I'll be right back. Let's work this first end. Single crochet there. Okay, now where the stitch marker is, we will work 3 single crochet all into that same stitch. And that's going to help us create a good point. Here, oh, there you go. See there? Then we just work 1 single crochet all the way down to the other end and repeat. So do this one more time in gray, and when you get back up to the beginning of your 3rd round, at the end of your 3rd round, come back and we're going to change color, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do starting with the brown, okay? And that's the color you need to change to. Let me show you a reference. I suppose I could be better at this, huh? So as you can see, we're going to do 3 rounds of gray, 2 rounds of the brown, 2 rounds of the green, and finally 2 rounds of the brown. Okay, but in the first brown rows, I guess I can stop taking this away, huh? The first brown rows, we're going to change things up ever so slightly. And that's going to wind up being our 1 row repeat for the rest of the headband portion. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work round, let's see here, we're finishing up round 2. I'm going to work round 2 and 3 off camera, and I'll be back whenever we're ready to change colors to the brown. Okay, now I'm ready to join. So I'm going to go ahead and join with the brown. Nope, I don't know why I always do that. I always say, oh Merlin, I always say I'm going to join and then I don't. Okay. Merlin, come on. Okay, chain 1, single crochet, work a single crochet into every stitch until the point, and then repeat 3 single crochets where the stitch marker is. Now round 2 of the brown color, or in my case this burgundy color, we're going to work double crochets only into that point stitch. Everything else is a single crochet. That is going to give us a dramatically pointier point. And every row beyond that will have 3, you can see here, this is 3 single crochets. But then whenever we get up to here, we have 3 double crochets. Again, 3 doubles, 3 doubles. Everything else is all singles. That's the only difference. So I'll be back when I get to this point. I'll work that with you. Then I will leave you to it. It's all a 1 row repeat. It's just a matter of changing your colors every 2 colors. Every 2 rows, forgive me, every 2 rows. So this here is row 1 of the brown. Then we'll do another one, but with double crochets on the points. And then we will do 2 rows of the green and 2 rows of the brown again. Then we'll make that little decorative disc. Okay, so this first round brown, 3 single crochet into that point stitch. 1, 2, mark that there. There we go. I will be back when we have already started round 2. You don't really need me to show you how to join and work a single crochet. So I'm going to work the rest of round 1 with the brown, and then I'm going to work my way all the way up to the point area, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So I'll be right back. Okay, got my way worked around. Here is round 2 of the brown, and I'm just going to work my way over to that point. Now in the point, we'll work 3 double crochet. This will allow us to get a really nice dramatic point. 1, 2, mark that middle stitch, and then 3, and then right back down to single crochets again. Now, as you're working, it might try to curl up on you a little bit, but that's okay. It just stretches out, no problem, and it stays stretched out. Okay, so continue to do this. This is your 1 row repeat, where instead of single crochets on the end, it's double. So that's your 1 row repeat. And one more time, that is going to be the second round of brown, then 2 rounds of green, then 2 final rounds of brown, and then that's it. You're done with the headband portion, and then we're just going to sew it together. And oh no, next we have to make our little medallion piece. Then we'll sew it together and add the straps. So for the little medallion piece, again, I don't have a pattern to reference, and I really couldn't see it well enough to even count the stitches. So my guess is we're going to actually, no, if you want to start with a 4 chains and then join to form a ring, I'm going to start with a magic circle. And let's start with 12 single crochet into the ring. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and joined into my first single crochet made. Now let's go ahead and double these stitches from 12 to 24. So let's work 2 single crochet into each stitch around, and then join with a slip stitch into your first single crochet. Did I work 2 into that? Yes. There we go. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. I'll be right back. Okay, 24 stitches. Let's go ahead and join, chain 1. Now we're going to continue to work increasing, so let's start with 1 single crochet into our joining stitch, and then 2 into the next, 1 into the next, 2, work an increase into the one after that, 1 into the next, work an increase into the next after that. That's the repeat. You're going to work 1 single crochet into the next, 2 single crochet into the next, over and over. I will be right back. Okay, so for the final round, let's go ahead. I have all my stitches worked in. I am dealing with a bit of this. You can just flatten that down, and then if you don't have an iron, which I do not, get a saucepan, put some water in it, just a couple of inches of water, and get it real hot on the stove. It doesn't have to be boiling, and then you can just press that down on this acrylic, and it'll flatten it right out, no problem. Okay, let's join, but let's also work a color change. This will be the last round. There we go. Let's chain 1, yarn over, and work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and increase the 3rd stitch, there we go, by 2. Again, yarn over, work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then an increase into the 3rd. 1 half double into each of the next 2, increase in the 3rd. Okay, work that all around, and you will join, cut, weave in all of your ends, and we'll have to figure out something for the back part. We'll get there. Okay, so here's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go from here to here. So let me start right here. Pick up these 2 stitches right here. And I'm using a smaller hook. I'm using a 4.5 because I want these stitches to be tight, not loose. And I'm just going to chain 2, 3, 4. Is 4 enough? I think 4 is enough. We want that to be tight so that we have to stuff those in there and they don't want to move. So I think 4 is going to be enough, and I'm just going to join right here on this side. There we go. Chain 1, and I'll do that. Work 1 little row of single crochet on the way back. No, I'll do slip stitches. Yes. I'm sort of making this up on the fly, y'all. Some slip stitches on the way back. Right back into that stitch there. Make sure I get just those surface stitches. There we go. Okay. I think my scissors might be getting a little dull. Here we go. And I'm going to flatten this out with some heat. But I'm not going to worry about weaving these ends in. I'm just going to tie it in a tight knot a few times, and that'll be good enough. Besides, this yarn catches on itself because it's real fluffy, so I'm not worried about it. And I'll leave just a tiniest little bit of excess there. No one's going to see that, and it'll keep it from unraveling. And there we go. I can shove my ends right in there. So I'll be right back. Let me go get a hot pot and show you how I will flatten this wavy bit down. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my pot of steaming water, but it's not boiling, and I've got my hot pad here, and I slightly dampened this, just ever so slightly. Put that on the hot pad, and just take the bottom of this hot pan here, and just press it. You just need a little bit of water to keep your pan from scorching. And there you go, and you can iron with that. That's how I've been ironing for years. You really don't need an iron. Get you a spritz bottle for some steaming and you're good. And there we go. Let's get the back side. Merlin, you quit. You better leave people alone. Come on. Now, come on. He's barking at the neighbor across the street. According to Merlin, no one is allowed to live in this neighborhood but us. Merlin. Just a moment. I gotta shut the front door. It was my husband he was barking at. He was pulling up to the driveway. Okay. So there we go. The color changed a little bit because it's still damp. When it dries, the color will go back to that normal light gray, but it's a little flatter now. You can see the acrylic has reacted. But it got rid of a lot of that wave and ripple, yet still it's malleable. So now it's good. And that's how you can iron without buying an iron. Quick little jobs like collars and cuffs. Like I don't think you can do a whole coat or anything with you really need a real iron for that, but I never iron coats and everything. It's mostly just collars, cuffs, and things like this. So how to do the tie straps. You want the bottom of the piece, the portion that will be on your hair facing you. Here's the top portion. Okay, and then just come to the points here, come to the top stitch. We're going to work, over 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. So we're going to start with this top stitch here. You want a fairly long tail that you can weave in when we are all done. And let's go ahead and chain 110 stitches. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, 110 chains. Let's go ahead and add one more for a total of 111. This will be our turning chain. And I do recommend working in the back bumps. It'll create a cleaner edge. And you're just going to work 1 single crochet into each chain all the way back down to the base. When you get back down to the other end, I'll jump back on here with you and show you what we're going to do next. So I will be right back. Okay, now I just have 1 stitch left to work in. It's always the hardest one for me to make out. All right. So now what we're going to do, tighten that down. is the next stitch up, work a slip stitch, turn, skip that slip stitch right there, right at the base of your loop on your hook, and the next stitch over, start working your single crochets all the way back down. When you get back down to the bottom, don't chain one, just turn, and in the very first stitch, start working your single crochets back up again. And when you come back up, just repeat what we did before, slip stitch, just like that, turn, and start working your single crochets again. And when you come back down, that will be your fourth row, and you can just anchor that fourth row right here, chain one, tie off, and weave in all of your ends. Okay, and so that's, you'll do that on the other side as well. And so that's the pull ties. I think 4 rows wide. Of course, you can do 5 rows wide. Sorry for being so low on the screen. You can do it 5 rows wide. It's really up to you. It's not a set in stone pattern. But yeah. Okay, I will be right back. I just worked my way over to the end, and I thought I could go ahead and show you what I was talking about. So don't chain one, just turn and go right into your first stitch. And every stitch after that, it creates a really clean, flat edge when you don't chain. Sometimes chaining is just something that you have to do. You don't always, but sometimes working in the round, you really kind of have to chain. But if you're working on something with a straight edge like this, if you can get away with not chaining, I just simply would. Okay, so I'm going to work my way back up to the top. I guess I can jump back on and show you that part too, instead of just leaving you hanging. Okay, I'll be right back. And I was thinking, I don't think my math worked out quite right on that. I think what we're going to have to do is slip stitch up one and then up another one to utilize all 4 of these stitches. But you don't have to, but I just figured it would be even if we did. You see how we started here? We really should end here. So we may have to come back up and slip stitch here and here before working our way back up, because this is row 3 now. So yeah, that is what we're going to have to do. So I will jump back on here and work that out with you. Okay, so work my way back down, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into this stitch here and this 4th stitch on the end. So 1 and 2. Now I'm going to skip those 2 slip stitches right there, and in the 3rd stitch over, work my last row of single crochet. And it looks pretty good. I wanted it to be 4 stitches wide. And there we go. When we tighten this up and weave that in, it'll look even better. See? I just really thought it would look good 4 stitches wide, and it would be a lot more secure since it is such a wide band. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work this all the way down to the end, cut and weave in my ends. I'm going to do this again on the other side, and then we will check out some reveal shots with the actual finished bow and the little round decorative disc that we made. I think it's a slide. That's how I made it. Okay, y'all, be right back. Okay, so as far as sewing it on, I didn't really finish making the first piece I was showing you because I already had this one done. And as far as the sewing on part, I know most of you are experienced crocheters, so you don't need to watch me do it step by step. I just simply cut a long piece of our yarn, and I would go through both loops of the brown, but only one bottom loop of, for example, see how we have the 2 loops? So I would go through both loops of the brown, but only one loop of the top portion. That way it wouldn't show through up here. And I did that all around, and I wound up, what I did was I just laid it flat, and let me turn it around this way. I laid it flat like this on top and made sure to balance it out. Let me bring you up a little bit. Made sure to keep it even centered. I took some stitch markers, and right here, edge for edge, I just pinned it in a few places and started sewing. Sewed it together all the way around the back edge, around this center portion here. And then I sewed the white edge onto the white portion of the headband. That way I could have this little lip sticking forward, just a little bit more strength around the face, around the head, the hairline. It just worked out that way. So that's how you sew it. It's so easy, as you can see. And I was working both 2 loops down here, just right on the surface. I would pick up 2 loops like this, just like that, right on the surface. And then just go through the 1 bottom loop like that. Anyways, majority of you are experienced crocheters, so you understand how that all works. All right, I'm ready to try this on for you. I've got both of my ties on now. Here we go. Okay, I'm not so good at tying bows. I'm going to do my best. I know that you want to start with loops. At least I think you want to start with loops. Nope. I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. Oh, I was going to put my wig on, huh? Okay, just a moment. Okay. Wig is on. I got it tied on. Actually, you know what I want to do is kind of tie it off to the side a little bit. I've seen them do that quite a bit on the show. And I always thought it looked so cute when they did that. Okay. Let's tie this again. Make sure I don't get my hair caught. Okay. And then these are still a little long, so maybe even do 100 chains instead of 110. Yeah, they're a little long still. Pretty uneven. Well, they're uneven because I tied it off to the side. Okay. And now I'm just going to go ahead and slide this on. I'll get it on the one long one first. Work that up. Now get the other one in there. And work that up. Here we go. And I grabbed my 1865 shawl just to kind of complete the whole vibe. After all, this show was based on the year 1870 or 1871. That's when the timeline of the show first started. Well, by golly, I feel warm now. I'm a little sweaty, actually. There we go. There. What do we think? Okay, I think it's kind of a success. It is. It is. It doesn't look exact. You know, that's a little warm. I'm genuinely hot. It's not an exact match. Let me show you what I have on my computer so you can see why it was so much easier for me to work off of my computer. So just a moment. Oh, look how cute this is. Oh my goodness. I almost want to put a wire behind this just to keep it in that disc shape like hers is. It almost seems like they used double thread, actually. Doubled up the strands to do this portion here because it seems very stiff. But cute, right? Oh my goodness, cute. I don't know how much of me you can see. Let me show you my computer. Okay, so now you can see it was a lot easier for me to figure out how it was supposed to look. And you can see, I think they did use double strand on that little disc part. Let me go through some of the other photos here. Let's see. That's just a smaller one of that. Yeah, so I can zoom in and it gave me a really good idea of how things were meant to look. I kind of wonder, did I get the strips right? I don't know. A lot of the photos aren't super clear. Let's look at those strips. Yeah, I think I got them right. I did not get the light gray part. I'm not exactly sure what kind of stitch that is. I feel like I've seen it before. Yeah. So you can see with it being on my computer, I had a much easier time. Only reason I printed them off was so that you all could see. And that's the one I think someone was talking about. Nellie Olson was wearing that matched sort of our, isn't this cute? The little dresses came with these little things that we've been making lately. Oh shoot, the name of the, it's escaping my memory at the moment. That's fine. Yeah, you really can see, isn't that cute? I think that's all of them. Oh yeah, I really want to make this. I really, really do. I think it's neat looking. But okay, so this was it, our Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls bonnet style ear warmer. And I like this. I think it's fun. It's almost cosplay, but I don't care. I like it. Why don't we wear this stuff anymore? It's so cute. Oh my God. Okay, there you go. I'm living out my Little House on the Prairie fantasies right here on YouTube with you. So I think these would be darling for little children. And yeah, I just do. So next project from the Little House on the Prairie, if you guys like this, if you don't, if majority of people say, yeah, no, not for me, I understand. I won't waste my time then with the other ones. But if you do like it, then I will 100% happily waste my time. No, I'm kidding. Happily use my time to try to make that bonnet style scuddy. I made a scuddy. I actually have a pattern for a scuddy that I wrote. Again, I don't like writing patterns, but I've got a tutorial for one too. I'll leave that tutorial down below. You guys can check it out and let me know what you think. But it's a granny square scuddy, and I think it's very cute. But I'd like to make Mary's scuddy, and I would like to make the 2 or 3 different shawls that I've seen on there so far, namely Carolyn's shawl. Okay, you guys, I will see you real soon in the next video. I think we're doing a mystery pattern next. It's my channel. I know we are. We're doing a mystery pattern next. I'll see you guys. Bye.